How's it going, people? If you watched my New Year's Day video, you'll know that I said I wanted to do some news videos this year. So my idea is basically to get out one video a month, kind of summarising all the big news stories that have happened in relation to cars in that month. And so here I am with the first one. What I'm going to do is basically run through 5 stories in a little bit of depth, one big story that I'll go through in lots of detail, and then I'll go through some key announcements that we've heard this month. I'm going to do a little bit more of a me talking to the camera format in this video. There will be some other clips and that kind of stuff as well. Be great to get your feedback on the way that the video is formatted, just so that I can grow and learn and make these videos better in the future. As it's a new type of video, let me know in the comments down below exactly what you think about it, whether or not you think it's a good idea, whether you like the video, whether you like the format, all that kind of stuff. Really want to hear your guys' thoughts. And if you watched my video from last week, you know that I started the topic of the week, so it's a topic that I want you guys to comment down below on, and this week I want you to comment about the most interesting story that you have heard in relation to cars this year. That will basically help me to know what kind of things you'd like me to review when I do these news videos. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the news. So the first story I wanted to talk to you about this week was the cancellation of the Range Rover Coupe SV. So back in Geneva last year, Range Rover announced this super exclusive 3-door SUV. It was going to cost £240,000 standard, and they were going to produce 999 of them in total. However, in a statement on the 30th of January, they said they're going to scrap the car entirely and focus their attention on their more important projects like the new Defender. In the same sentence, they actually mentioned the fact that they've got the Jaguar SVR being delivered to new purchasers over the next few weeks as well, which I think is a little bit of a diversion tactic by the business, but I suppose they have to do it. If they're getting rid of this super expensive Range Rover that was supposed to be kind of a top of the range and super interesting and super exclusive, they're going to have to kind of divert your attention to something that they're actually winning on. And this also comes in the wake of them announcing they're going to actually be cutting 4,500 jobs over the next year and a half to try and save £2.5 billion. It sounds like the company's really struggling and they've gotten rid of this Range Rover simply because they aren't going to be able to kind of afford it, and they want to focus on things they think might sell better or sell to a wider audience. So it kind of makes some commercial sense, but I still feel like this car would have sold pretty well, slash I feel like it would have definitely sold out. People already buy the best of the best Range Rovers year on year, and you see them rolling around Knightsbridge and Sloane Street and all those kinds of places as if they're supercars almost. So I just don't really see why they wouldn't produce this that they've kind of hyped up so much. But of course, I'm not on the inside, I'm not a car manufacturer, and so I'm not really one to judge. But this does lead me nicely onto the second story, which is that the UK car manufacturing sector is in severe trouble. In 2018, UK car production was down by 9%, which is the lowest it's been in 5 years. It's actually the first time since 2012 that automotive investment has been below £1 billion at around £600 million, which is absolutely insane for one industry to just drop by that much in 1 year. Now, this lack of production and this lack of investment has been blamed sort of on the uncertainty from Brexit and the potential for a no-deal Brexit, which the automotive world is very much against, and on top of this, the kind of regulatory changes, not just sort of more broadly, but also around diesels, which has kind of seen a severe dip in diesel sales in Europe over the last year. I personally don't think that 2019 is going to be a massive year for the UK's car production either. I think potentially, given the fact that we've got Brexit and the uncertainty around it, I don't feel like many industries are a great investment proposition for firms right now, but the automotive industry, given its state and the lack of production in the UK, it's really not going to get very much investment in 2019, so I just don't imagine it being particularly good. And obviously also in terms of that JLR story around 4,500 jobs being cut, 2019 I don't feel like it's going to be a good year again for the UK in production, but we'll see. I'm again not an analyst, so who knows. Sticking with British manufacturers, but going on something a little bit more upbeat than the sadness of our industry right now, we've got the fact that Lotus is partnering up with Williams Advanced Engineering to start producing electric vehicles, or at least to start producing some kind of new project. This is super exciting. You've got two companies with huge F1 experience and knowledge working together and sharing that information that they have to create something insane. Obviously it's still going to be a Lotus with help from Williams, so it is mostly a Lotus, but still kind of having these two brands together to make a car is going to be super cool. Obviously I'm a big Lotus fanboy, so, and who knows, it could be a whole new era for Lotus cars, with the Geely or Geely group recently purchasing them. It's a big Chinese holding company with the potential to input so much money into the Lotus brand. They've already sort of suggested that there might be some production of Lotuses in China rather than just in Norfolk, which will be a big change for the brand, but also I see that kind of bringing the brand to more markets where it could potentially sell more, and then maybe we get to see more Lotus cars done in the future, and that for me is all a positive. And even though I'd much prefer to have an internal combustion engine Lotus, I am still excited for the fact that there could be electric Lotuses in the future. That means that the brand will carry on irrespective of any changes in the way that we power our cars. For the fourth story, I wanted to jump briefly over to Sweden to discuss the fact that Koenigsegg have just partnered with the New Electric Vehicle Sweden, or NEVS company, which is basically a company that was built from the ashes of Saab after they went bust. Christian von Koenigsegg, the founder of Koenigsegg, said that this will help the brand to kind of tap into some different markets, which I think is interesting. Does that mean that we're going to be getting a family car Koenigsegg in the future, which I obviously highly doubt? Or does it mean that we're going to start seeing Koenigsegg with slightly different technology in them? Or what I want to know basically is, what is this actually opening Koenigsegg up to kind of help them benefit? It's also been suggested that this will help Koenigsegg to be more sustainable into the future, which I suppose just basically means that in terms of money, etc., it will help them to kind of be a little bit more stable. I assume it can be quite difficult making very limited edition iconic hypercars. As long as this allows them to continue to be that iconic and allows them to kind of stay this sort of non-commercial, super exclusive entity of just brilliance, then yeah, I think it will be a great partnership and it will help them to kind of go forward into the future. And the final small story I wanted to talk about with you was the fact that the Daytona 24 Hours took place on the 26th, 27th of January, and there were two kind of key stories from it, other than the fact that the weather was absolutely awful and caused the race to be concluded 2 hours early. Number one is that British driver Ollie Jarvis set a lap record in qualifying while driving his Mazda, which I think is insane, and well done to him. And the second you probably already know about, but Wayne Taylor Racing actually won the event with Fernando Alonso and Kobayashi, two F1 drivers, driving in the car, even though Fernando himself said that the race should have been stopped whilst they were in second place when the rain was absolutely chucking it down. It was too dangerous to drive. But if you win, you win, and in this case Fernando Alonso won, which is adding to his toll of 24-hour race wins. He won Le Mans last year, which I think is just so cool, and hopefully he can get the Triple Crown this year, or the Holy Trinity, or whatever you want to call it. So that concludes the smaller stories I wanted to talk about. I know there's been a lot of information there, hopefully you found it interesting. Let's move on to our big story of the week, and this one is something that I find super interesting. It is the VW MEB platform is potentially going to be shared with numerous different brands. You've probably seen the title of this video, and if you don't know what the MEB platform is, it actually stands for Modulare Elektrobaukasten in German, which I've definitely ruined the word, but whatever, which basically translates to modular electrical construction kit in English. So what it is a platform on which numerous electric cars can be built nice and easily. And the reason why VW have made this is so that they can make super cheap electric cars moving forward. So at Detroit earlier this year, they actually collaborated with Ford and signed a deal saying that Ford would be able to use the MEB platform for some of their electric cars in the future, and they've mentioned now the fact that they want to actually spread that even further and give more manufacturers a chance to use this kind of platform for their cars. Now the key point here is that it's super cheap. VW want to be making cars that sell for around £25,000. If we compare that to the bottom of the range Model 3 Tesla, it's £39,000 if it comes to the UK, there or thereabouts. That's a £14,000 difference on the car immediately, and it's a platform that VW can apply to numerous different cars, hence the fact that they've already started doing different cars on this platform just to kind of show it off. They've got the ID Cross SUV, the ID Buzz van, the ID Dune buggy has just been announced, and the ID Vision Saloon Sport Brake kind of thing is on that as well. On top of the fact that the other VW group manufacturers like Skoda, Seat and Audi also have cars on this platform planned for the near future. £25,000 is around the same price as an R-Line Golf at the moment, which is just ridiculous to think about when you consider the fact that the car won't cost you as much to run overall. Just to give you some context, the reason why VW made this MEB platform was because they basically thought that most people don't care that much about what's actually under the bonnet of their cars. They're more interested in the infotainment, in the luxury, in the comfort, all the features they get as people, the heated seats, the heated steering wheels, that kind of stuff. And as VW are well renowned in the past for sharing car parts between their manufacturers, or literally having the same car between their manufacturers, for example the VW Up, the Skoda Citigo and the Seat Me, all three of them are literally the same car, just barely different in terms of aesthetics. So this is kind of taking a step on from that and making a little skateboard chassis, as it's so called, that you could build a chassis on top of, build different platforms onto. Obviously the key kind of difference here is the fact that you can build a hatchback on it, and you can also build a dune buggy on it. I mean, it's a super interesting idea by them, and probably save them a lot of money in the long term, having to not build kind of multiple different platforms for their cars. And this is all basically part of the Electric for All campaign by VW, which is ultimately trying to achieve 150,000 sales of electric cars by 2020, 1 million by 2025, and basically trying to push everyone towards moving to electric cars. To give you a basic understanding of the tech of the MEB, it's mostly going to be a rear wheel drive car with a rear placed motor that sort of powers the two rear wheels, but it also has space to be able to put a front motor on as well, and therefore kind of power both the front and rear wheels and be an all-wheel drive platform. Just really depends on the type of car that they're trying to build, but that's the kind of idea. They can change also the battery sizes, so you can have 3 different sizes of battery, larger ones for sort of longer distances and smaller ones to get into a smaller car. So if you wanted to have a hatchback with slightly lower range, that would make sense. They also mentioned the fact that they've got an ultra fast charging station, which is also portable and kind of can charge 15 electric vehicles at any one time, and takes 17 minutes to charge an e-Golf to 80%, which I don't know why that's a statistic, but that's the one I've been given. So, and then on top of that, Porsche, which is also owned by VW, has suggested that for the first 3 years of owning one of their electric vehicles, you'll get free charging, which again is a massive pull factor, because it means rather than paying for petrol as we do today, you'll just get free electricity for 3 years, which is super sick. So how do I feel about all of this? Obviously the brand has been doing this kind of platform sharing for ages. The idea of making one platform for loads of their cars is just a really good commercial idea by them, because it will save them so much money, and the vast majority of people won't really notice the difference regardless. But I do think it's mad that they're trying to share this platform outside of VW. Either they are really trying to take an entire market share in terms of electric cars and trying to really undercut Tesla and cause problems for that brand, or they are just seeing a really good opportunity to make some short-term cash by sharing their technology with other people and selling a lot of units very quickly. Either way, I think it's a super mad idea and very interesting, and it's going to be cool to see where it goes. Cool, so what are your thoughts on the MEB? I'd be super interested to hear what you guys have to say about this and where you think VW are going with their electric cars, or even do you like electric cars? Do you prefer internal combustion engines? Would you get an electric car? All just super interesting questions that I think I should pose to you guys. And as I said, the final part of the video, I wanted to quickly run you through a bunch of random releases and announcements by car manufacturers, so we'll kind of jump through these super quickly. With Toyota, there's a potential for the new electric MR2, as they've suggested that following the Supra they're going to make more rear-wheel drive sports cars. A Morgan widebody was actually seen out driving. Great to see that Morgan are out here making new cars. Shelby are looking to do more business in the UK, which I think is really interesting given the fact that our market is so poor at the moment, but at the same time we're super happy about that because it means that we'll get more muscle cars in the UK, which is great. You may have seen this already, but the Golf GTI TCR, which is based on the Golf touring car, has just been released as well. It has 290 PS and looks super sick by the reviews I've seen so far. I would love to get a chance to drive one. VW, please hit me up and let me get in that car. You may have seen this too with the Lamborghini Huracan Evo was announced, which is basically the most savage version of the Huracan so far. A really interesting one. Ginetta are planning on a supercar with 600 brake horsepower to fit into the same market as Ferraris and Lamborghinis and to kind of compete against them. I think that's a really interesting idea by Ginetta. They have the potential given their pedigree in racing, but really depends on how they actually pull this thing off. I'm excited for it and I want to see where this story develops to. If you've watched my last video, you'll know already that the Toyota Supra was announced, which has kind of polarized opinions around, is it a Z4, is it a Supra? Watch my last video and I'll explain it all to you. The 911 992 Cabriolet was also announced, so you can get a convertible of the 992 that came out at the end of last year. Final few announcements. Lexus showed off their RCF and RCF Track Edition, which I think are amazing looking cars, and Lexus are just really doing bits at the moment, so really watch out for them. The McLaren 600 LT Spider was announced, which again looks amazing with its kind of long tail on the back. And final point to note, Fiat removed their 124 Spider from their lineup in the UK, so you can no longer buy a 124 Spider. I don't know why, they haven't really given much of a reason. I'm sure this will develop over time. if I could clear it up for you, I would. But yes, that is my first attempt at summarizing an entire month's worth of news on the car industry. I really hope you guys found some kind of interesting information from this. If you did, let me know in the comments. Also, just let me know if you like the format, if you want to see more of the videos and less of me, or more of me and less videos, all that kind of stuff in terms of this format for this kind of video. It'd be great to get your guys' ideas and opinions on this, because I need you guys to help me basically grow this to be something good, because I really do care about it. As always, remember to like, comment and subscribe for more weekly car content. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.